So in May, 5th of May, 1854, it started as a very small dispute. So there was a Teochew buyer and a Hokkien shopkeeper arguing over the price of rice. And then, passerbys came by. Each one took sides. And you can imagine, one person starts shouting louder than the other. Someone starts to brandish a fist. The other will start brandishing a weapon. Next thing you knew, street fights erupted. Street fighting broke out. Shops were looted. Homes are burned. Chaos.
Wow.
And then we've got the British that came in. Police Superintendent Thomas Dunman called for reinforcements.
From what I understand, was probably the only level-headed person in any form of government who was actually attending to this thing.
Yes. And I did read that there was a governor, William Butterworth.
Oh, I love that name already.
Butterworth, right? who didn't think it was actually too serious.
I'm sorry, wait.
Yes.
Isn't there a place in Penang called Butterworth?
Yeah, there was. Yes.
So is it named after him?
I have actually...
We got to figure that out.
I cannot confirm.
If we were a bigger podcast, we can just put a finger here and say, "Oh, please, researchers, check it out," and then we get it on the way back. So anyway, Governor Butterworth. So Thomas Dunman, who was the police superintendent, he called for assistance.
He called for assistance. Okay. He called for Butterworth. Butterworth didn't actually think that it was serious. There's something to be learned down there. That you took it too casually. Two groups of people fighting. What could go wrong? Nah. It's just the locals. It's just the locals having a tiff.
But we do get this sense from British rule that's always what happens. You get a sense of a certain fecklessness about attending to the needs of people who are not Europeans within the community.
Yeah, a sense of laissez-faire. Is that the word? Laissez-faire.
Well, if I'm not wrong, I think you're right. It's actually referenced in newspaper articles of that time. They did say a laissez-faire approach. But here's one interesting factoid that I pulled out. Apparently, Governor Butterworth didn't believe Thomas Dunman, and he actually rode into the crowd on a horse. I don't know if it was a white horse, but it'd be hilarious. He rode into a horse, and he was roundly pelted by the mob. Because the mob didn't know who he was. He was just this weird European coming in, and they thought, we've got no beef with you, but you're coming in. And so they set upon him, and he barely escaped with his life.
Yeah, that's probably what pissed him off, right? That's probably why he actually... Well, next thing that happened,
okay, yes.
That did piss him off.
Okay.
The police were called in, troops, Marines, volunteers were called in. Malay soldiers by the Temanggung of Johor joined the effort as well. So everybody, tried to put everything at ease. And I don't know if you could you just imagine how it was. Chinese people fighting amongst each other, but you've got soldiers, police, and they couldn't. All the king's men and all the king's horses couldn't put...
Well, I mean, to be fair, you think about it, right? Yeah. You got Chinese fighting each other and Teochews, Hokkiens fighting each other. And then likely, I mean, we got to go and check this out, but likely the police force probably consisted of a few Europeans and then maybe your Indian sepoys. And then you had Malay soldiers from the Temangung's private army coming in to quell this. I mean, this is truly... uniquely Singapore, passion made possible.
Yeah, passion made possible.
Multiracial
also
country.
Also an ode to Chinese Kung Fu, I don't know whether you use... Okay, well.
So what happened?
Violence spread. Okay. It spread to city areas of those days. Paya Lebar, Siglap, Bukit Timah. It wasn't until 5 days later that the colonial authorities decided to take action. So they sent troops to the rural areas where they caught the rioters off guard. So and altogether it lasted 10 days.
10 days of rioting. So what I heard, what I read as well is that very interesting way of doing things. We got to remember back in 1854, really Singapore was not developed except for what we can see now, your and anywhere from Fort Canning downwards was developed. The rest was just your rural space, right? So what they did was they sent all of the soldiers around Singapore. It was like a pincer movement through the forests of Singapore, culminating into the city itself. So that's how they basically flushed them all out. Very interesting. But then they did say, and I don't. Maybe you can talk to us a bit more about the aftermath. What happened? How many people died? What was the casualty list?
So yeah, rioting lasted for more than 10 days.
Right.
When the dust settled, 500 people were dead.
Wow.
300 homes destroyed.
500 people dead.
Yeah. 500 people were arrested, but only 250 were tried. 6 were sentenced to death.
Yeah, but again, it points to a very light touch, kind of like we don't really care about you, kind of governing by the British. Then.
Yeah. You had to imagine the framework of the British. They're here to manage a colony. Some probably didn't want to be here.
Some would say to extract resources from a colony.
Yes, that's the narrative of the day, and it was a place to be managed, and if there were ways to just stop this as soon as possible. It was also recorded that there were 30 junks that left Singapore for China shortly after, probably shipping off many of the immigrants who had fueled the violence. One may then ask, what would you do if you were the government after this disaster? Go back to bed?
Well, no. Well, I mean, okay. If I'm this government right now, of course, then you'd have a committee of inquiry. You would bring all of these people up and have witnesses and a very long process, a very public, transparent process, and say what happened. I don't know what the CID of that period would be called, but you'd have a brand new kind of thing. And knowing if the British of that time were as scasu as the government of today, well, you'd have brand new police departments solely dedicated to infiltrating all these Secret Service gangs and making sure that kind of thing. I suspect that's not what happened.
Yeah. Well, so for one, they tightened the screws on Chinese secret societies, as most of these secret societies were the instigators and the culprits of a lot of this unrest.
Right.
What Butterworth did was reorganize these secret societies into the Singapore Volunteer Corps. And if you make a trip down the beach road, you'd see his legacy down there, right by this. What's this mall called? South Beach, South Beach. It's a fancy hotel today.
Yeah.
The Singapore Volunteer Corps is still there today.
Really?
The building.
The building is still there today. Right.
Later on, the Singapore Volunteer Corps would battle the Japanese during the Japanese invasion.
Okay.
And after that, when the reorganized secret societies in its new form found that the war had ended, the British administration realized that they had very dangerous organizations on their hands, because now you have an armed group of people, very well organized, with nothing much to expand their energy on.
Yeah.
So here's another factoid.
Okay.
So we're full of fun facts on this show, right?
Fun fact about the word factoid. Factoid actually used to refer to something that wasn't true, but we'll use it as a little fact, a factoid.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So. Fun fact.
Yeah.
The secret societies of the day were reorganized. The British government had them reorganized and re-administered. Because after the war with the Japanese, they were heavily armed. They were all fighting for a cause. They were men who were well trained and they could do a lot of damage.
I mean, demobilization in any war is an very important affair. You don't want to leave a very dangerous, volatile situation in the hands of men who are prone and used to violence, right? So tell me, but there are rumors about what they end up being.
That's right. So it was told to me, in order to encourage them to give up their weapons, the British government had the secret societies remodeled to fit the framework of a trade union that is very well known from British in the British context.
Right.
So the secret societies then later became trade unions.
That's very fascinating. I mean, it's unsourced, it's a complete rumor, but it'll be fascinating to think that the fundamentals of workers' rights and fighting for I guess workplace fairness came from secret service.
And it made sense. And it makes sense. I mean, the secret societies were there to help the brothers who came from who's coming to a foreign country to find support, camaraderie, a place to sleep, protection.
I mean, you have the systems in place, you have the logistics in place already. So why not use it, right?
The spirit is there, and that's what our the trade unions of today do.
I will say this: I think any of the trade unions under the NTUC banner would take great umbrage with you saying that there are some things or gangsters now. So we're absolutely not saying that. We're talking about history here.
But that's another episode.
I personally know a lot of trade unions and they're wonderful people.
We should do a show together with them.
We should do a show about trade unions.